Hey leaders, Merry Christmas coming to you from the Cleaver household. Jared and Carrie here. And we wanted to give you just a quick little video in the vein of City Group coaching. But the deal is, over the next couple weeks, chances are you're not going to be spending very much time with your City Group people, but rather probably with your family. And so we wanted to do a quick one-off to talk about how to be a disciple at Christmas. And what I realized, even as I kind of assessed in my own mind, as I talked to some of our staff people, and as I talked to some of our City Group leaders, a lot of us, including kind of myself, didn't have a super intentional approach to how we're a disciple at Christmas and how we relate to people at Christmas. So I thought, hey, this might be actually helpful for us, and it's been helpful for me to think through it. And as I was thinking, who might be good at this, it took me like 3 weeks to realize that I live in the same house with someone who's actually really good at this. And so here's what we're really going to talk about. It all falls under this umbrella. And this is my challenge to you, or our challenge to you, is approach this Christmas with your family with gospel intentionality, okay? It's going to be all about gospel intentionality. Now, Carrie, you are someone who kind of acts with gospel intentionality. However, some of your methods haven't always been the same. You used to be kind of a super evangelist, and you used to live out of town, and you used to come back for holidays and sometimes for the summer. And one time, you had approached your family with gospel intentionality. How did that go? What did you do?
Yeah, so there was a summer where I cornered every one of my family members and asked them if they had accepted Jesus and been baptized. I mean, super awkward. I may have been somewhat of a Bible thumper back then. I don't know.
How did that go?
I mean, everyone said they had, and it just, yeah, there was some awkwardness. So I don't know if I'd recommend doing that in the next 5 days.
I would also not recommend doing that. There might be some people you might ask something like that.
If you feel led.
When the Spirit moves,
I know.
go ahead and do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So your methods have maybe changed a little bit,
For
but
sure.
the intentionality is still there. And so as you think about gospel intentionality with your family as you walk in the doors for Christmas, what does that look like for you?
Well, I will say my mentor in college, she said a one-liner that I have forever remembered in the idea of discipling, and that was keep a low profile and produce. Like, you don't need to do any grand things, like just do what God has called you to do and be quiet about it and do it quietly and effectively. So anyways, I think one of the things I would say is don't ever underestimate your presence. I know that with family, there's, awkwardness, there's maybe been some distance, maybe some political issues like arguments. That's been a thing in my family recently. But I just think when you are willing to give your time to your family and be with them, even if you don't say the words Jesus, I think, the distance gets smaller and maybe some of those walls melt a little bit and the defenses kind of come down. And so that's probably my first thing I would say is just be present. And that's an easy thing to do, I think, because you're already wanting to be together. I think the other thing is that I found that I try to do is it's really easy to walk in, especially if you have a caring family. Hey, sit on the couch, we're watching some football, grandpa's like snoozing on the couch, next to you or whatever. And so it's easy to just kind of walk in and be chill and like low key. And so what I've done in the number of years or whatever has just been to be intentional, like with each individual person. So like if my sister's in the kitchen and she's prepping a meal for dinner and cutting potatoes, like I'm cutting them next to her and I'm asking, Kel, how's life? How's marriage? I've heard, there's been some issues with my nephew, like how's that going? How can we pray for you? The kids, we're praying for you at night. We love you guys, that kind of a thing.
So you're like serving on one hand, which is a gospel thing, but you're also taking an opportunity to serve, but also just engage relationally.
Yeah, and like I try to do it when there's less people around. Obviously, they're going to open up more when there's not a whole crowd or whatever. They might be willing to dive into some of those life things. And so then just everyone wants to talk about themselves, and so asking questions specific to them and about their life and just like in that way, just saying, hey, we care about you, and hey, the kids and I were praying for you at night. We love Graham. We're praying for him. It just speaks a lot of volume.
Yeah.
So.
And sometimes you'll go from, you kind of pick people off, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll just kind of walk around and I see, my stepdad's in the fire room by himself because he's introverted and there's a bazillion kids running around. So I might just sit down next to him and, I know works hard. He's got back problems. They just hopped into a new huddle. So I might be asking like, Brad, how's it going with City Light West? How you connecting with those old men? Just things like that, and just say like, I know work's hard and you've had back issues, like how's therapy going? Like how can we be praying for you? We love you guys. Thanks for opening up your home, whatever, and just getting some one-on-one time with him. So he's even a believer, but I just finding time to even just say, hey, we love you, we care about you.
Yeah.
Making the most of the time that you're together. And we're not even there maybe a whole day, but we're together, multiple times during the season or whatever.
Yeah.
We might meet up like a couple times. And so I just kind of do it as I can,
And
So.
you will interact with kids to show love to them and make them feel welcome, but also to relieve the parents of stress that parents have from having
that, and I would say if you have a brother or sister that have kids and you've got some issues or they're not believers or whatever, I think loving their kids is a way to get to their own heart. So I think it's important to obviously love well, but don't underestimate loving the kids, as a way to actually connect with your siblings or whatever.
So and one of the interesting things about Carrie's family is it's a mix of Christians and non-Christians. But honestly, through your gospel intentionality of whether it's serving people, which you do a lot, it's just loving people, or just moving toward people intentionally through conversations, you've actually seen a lot of fruit. So your parents weren't really, your mom and stepdad weren't really Christians. Maybe not, I don't know. But now they're part of City Light West. They're in a city group, they're in a huddle, and you've seen that fruit. For your sister, your twin sister who lives in the Twin Cities, with her brother-in-law who didn't really have a religious leaning of any sort, and their two kids, they're now plugged into a CMA church in our denomination there, and they're very active, very involved. They volunteer there, and then on your dad's side of the family, we've been able to invite your dad and your stepmom, and they've come on holidays to Providence, and in the past to Christ Community, and your stepsister, who's never really had much of a church background, she started to come pretty regularly. And that's all happened through your gospel intentionality, and the Holy Spirit has just used that. And so for me, it's been kind of inspiring because I am kind of the go into Christmas and be a bump on a log kind of person. And because I just want to relax and be lazy, because that's just kind of who I am. But you've helped me think about that. And so even as I'm heading into Christmas with your family, and even some of my family too, but heading in with your family, I think I could be lazy. Hold on, the camera fell down. We're gonna continue this. I could be lazy. That was not planned.
No.
I could be lazy and just like keep moving on. And just like sit there, watch football, do nothing. However, just through seeing some of the things that you've done, I'm now thinking, how can I engage with our brother-in-law, or your brother-in-law there? How can I engage with your dad? How can I invite some of the people who aren't believers who live here in Omaha to church? And so it's been helpful and a bit of inspiration to me, and now we're trying to approach this with gospel intentionality.
And I think all families will be there on Christmas Eve, and it's going to be real awkward because it's like my mom and her family and my dad and their family. All the step spouses will be there. So.
I actually didn't know that, so now I have an extra reason to be nervous on Christmas Eve.
Absolutely.
It'll be great. Anyway, so we just wanted to get a little encouragement to you. Hey, to be a disciple at Christmas, you're going to have some gospel intentionality. So move toward people like Jesus has moved toward you, and engage with your family. And who knows, God may have fruit laid out in front of you, of cool things that the Spirit might be waiting to do in your family. And it may not happen this Christmas, but you may see fruit over the years. So take this Christmas with your family and be intentional with the gospel.